I believe that the influence by family and culture is the most critical for one's career. Family is the first world and perhaps the most important world anyone is exposed to right after birth, and it to a very large extent shapes one's personality and the way one conducts his or her life and views the larger world. Culture, on the other hand, is the characteristic of the larger world that everyone enters into as he or she grows older and starts venturing into different social spheres, and is thus the second force after family that shapes one's personality and also sometimes one's aspirations. To illustrate my point, I want to tell two stories. I know a lady who graduated from Yale Law School in the 70s. She decided to go to law school because of the influence of her family, particularly her father, who was a very famous legal scholar in the field and a professor at the Harvard Law School. In the early 70s, her law school class had very few women, less than 10 probably. She described the school environment in those days to be particularly hostile. Professors would cold call all the women in class on the same day, calling it a ladies' day. Just a few years later, the law school started to accept a lot more women, and one of them was Hillary Clinton. Back to the lady I was talking about. Her career path has been largely influenced by her family, in particular her father. On the other hand, however, she feels that gender has always been a defining character throughout her career because she was part of a generation where perceptions about women were rapidly changing. And that was also why she devoted a large part of her career to advocate for women's representation in workplace. My family background has had very strong impact on the way I plan my own career. Both of my parents graduated from one of the best universities in China in the early 80s. My mother then became a university professor, and my dad was assigned a job in a state-owned company, which was known as an iron rice bowl back in those days, which represents a stable and secure career path that everyone wished to have. My father, however, was not satisfied with the stable career prospect. He quit his job and started his own business in the early 90s. Growing a business in China requires very good knowledge of the political and economic dynamics as well as social currents, which have oftentimes become the topic of discussion at my family's dinner table, which also made me very interested in business, law, and politics at a very early age. The influence of Chinese culture on my career path was also extremely important. In today's China, the culture could probably be summarized into one word: change. The rapid changes and reforms taking place on all fronts made me aspire to be part of the change. Pursuing legal study in the US as a Chinese international student is still very uncommon in China even nowadays, primarily because of the incompatibility between two very different legal systems. I'm now doing a joint degree in JD MBA in the hope of contributing to the legal and economic reform in China once I'm equipped with the knowledge and expertise of a more mature and sophisticated legal system. And during the process I went through in forming such aspirations, the culture I grew up in and my family have definitely been the strongest shaping forces.